Hi, everybody, and thank you for taking the time to watch my philosopher presentation on William James. And we're going to just dive right in because there's so much material to cover. A live squirrel supposed to be clinging on one side of a tree trunk over against the tree's opposite side, a human being was imagined to stand. What James William is saying is to think about what you would do if you saw a squirrel climbing on a tree. Would you go around it, or would you go towards it and around it, or would you go to the opposite side and walk away? You could pause this video to take a few minutes to think about what you would do. Getting into the historical perspectives, William James' main focus was on functionalism, the state of mind, the state of doing, meaning of truth and radical empiricism, which means that our reality is based on an object in ourselves, and pragmaticism, which means that ideas cannot be true unless it works. So just some background here. William James was mainly inspired by the people around him. He was inspired by his dad, who told him that he must do something with intellect. His family was very rich in a sense when it came to intellect in school. They had private tutors, they traveled all around the world, and he was some sort of depressed person, and he really didn't want to do any of this stuff. But he enrolled at Harvard Lawrence Scientific School to study medicine, and eventually he broke his status quo with his dad, and he had an opportunity to go on an expedition in Brazil, which made him study naturalism and the environment around him. And what he got from that was that everybody, including humans and animals, have different perspectives of the world. Animals don't know, they don't have a meaning of truth. So this is the reason why um, animals do things over and over again, and they can't find their truth because they have no intellect like humans, who have a mind and a body and a pure soul to experience. So with that being said, the expedition wasn't for him. He went back to Harvard, graduated, but then he took a break, and he traveled back to Germany and met with many other philosophers who inspired him to get out of his depression mode. And the one that did inspire him was Charles Renouvier, who eventually he made an agreement with, and he found that you must be responsible for your actions to make a change in your own life. So I thought that was very interesting to look at. And out of his inspiration, he said that what you believe is what your destiny will be. Believe that life is worth living, and your very best belief will help create the facts. So what you believe is what you experience or will experience. So he went on to study anatomy, psychology, and philosophy, and he wrote his Principles of Psychology book in 1980, which talked about functionalism, how our mind works, the will, what we're going to do, what we believe, and how we find truths. The theory of emotions, how our emotions influence our thoughts. And then you look into your habits versus attentions. He mainly talks about how our habits are, our bad habits are taking away from our attention what we're supposed to be focusing on. So, if you're cooking and doing homework at the same time, you're not paying attention to your cooking, you're paying attention to your homework. And that distracts you from experiencing something else that, um, has the truth. Can you cook? Can you successfully make something that tastes good? So that's what he's trying to say with this. And then it leads to your stream of consciousness, which he talks about thoughts. Every person has a different belief. Thoughts are always changing. So we need to see and we need to feel. We need both of those things to experience the truth. What we feel influences our experience or what we're going to do to experience different things. When we see things, it's not actually what we see, it's what we feel. What we feel and see is part of our experience. So, we have to have some sort of physical sensation, memory, motion, and reason to experience, which equals our truth. And then we choose aspects of what we pay attention to, which is very interesting. So our habits are, if we acknowledge that we do have bad habits, we can make them better habits, and it gives us more of a benefit to find our truth, what our calling is. what we can actually do. So you can pause this video to look at the later works in life that he developed in order to, support our findings, our experience, and our truth. So the philosophy of religion was very important and had an influence on finding evidence of truth. In The Will to Believe in 1897, he said, "Can you believe without having any sort of evidence?" And then we move into the varieties of religious experience, where he says, "How do more beliefs influence the mind? What do you believe influences your mind? Is it religion? Is it society? Or is it the soul within?" Now, we're going to look at the will to believe. And the will to believe is like saying, do we need evidence to find belief? Or do we actually have to go out and find the truth? And that is the answer. So he forms this genuine opinion, which is three categories of belief, disbelief, and doubt. So if we believe or we're on the fence of it, we're actually believing, and we can find our truth through that. But if we just don't believe in something before we want to experience something, we're not going to do it. So it's completely doubt. Like, we don't want to go down that route. So then, with that being said, with our doubt, he says that we have to have our faith to involve risk and uncertainty. We need to take risks to solve the uncertainty, to make us want to do different things in life. So, with that being said, beliefs and religious experiences can have true impact on our lives, and it can contribute to our pure happiness and sense of purpose in life. So now he's talking about religion, and he basically says that our religious experiences don't have anything to do with the way that we do things. So, um, you know, our reason and facts on our own cannot explain meaningful experiences. It comes from ourselves, not what other people are telling us what to believe. The source of transformation is transferring our energy and our soul, our thoughts, what we think, you know, and that's the power that we should have, not the power from any, you know, God, basically. So we can change our negative experiences into positive experiences and go down paths that are good for ourselves and opens us to positivity and new findings. And now he's saying that science is taking away from our emotions, imaginations, and our souls. So we should truly believe in what we believe in our minds. We have to take our thoughts and we have to take our beliefs and we have to take them and put them into our experiences and encounters. We should not be, going off of a theory or following a certain theory. We have to be true. So now he talks about pragmaticism, and this is a good one because it deals with our experiences, ideas, and now the evidence that we have to find. So now we have a theory. So now, say if somebody asks you what you want to eat for dinner, are you going to respond, "Oh, I feel like eating a burger and a salad, maybe?" Or are you going to say, "No, I have to eat a salad because this is what my nutritionist said in order to lose weight, and I have to have this amount of calories, and I can't have any dressing." And he's just saying that we need to go off of what we feel, our emotions, not what certain theories are. So this is what we have to do. We have to examine our consequences that leads to action. So we have to find the truth through the outcomes, and we have to compare and contrast. Do we feel this way, or is this what people are telling us to do? That is the correct way. Now, in our theory of truth, it we need to have some sort of truth to prove that it's a good way that fits into our belief. Now, do we think? So take some time to pause this video. Should we verify something first, like meaning interacting with the world in order to get the truth? Or should we know if something is true? Can we verify it? So take a minute to pause and pick an answer and just think before. How do we know something is true? We would kind of need to interact with the world first. And that's how we would verify something. You can't know something with verifying it after. It just doesn't make sense to work that way. So now going back to the squirrel theory, meaning of truth, the answer basically is that you have to make the distinction of whether or not the outcome is different or the same. So whether you pick a direction, it really does not matter whether you go around or towards, because the squirrel is still gonna run away. So now he comes up with this view of metaphysics. So monism versus pluralism basically is just focusing more on pluralism and how our perspectives have to fit in the world of society. We need to think about more of reality existence. We can't think of just our belief is what everybody believes, basically. We need to perceive in thought as if it's reality itself. So basically, our soul, for us, not for everybody else, our soul is the grand total of our experiences. What we believe is what we should go on and do, despite how society tries to kind of morph and control and change our influences. Then he comes up with the theory of self. He starts with this pure ego. He says, William James says that you have yourself here in the center as the soul, and you can't let society ruin how you believe things. It's like you go to work, you're a different person. You're home, you're a different person. You're out with your friends, you're a different person. Your personality changes throughout the settings. Then you go into your material self. If you take all your jewelry, your clothes, the way you cut your hair, the way that you present yourself, you're still your own self. So the way that you present yourself changes the way people perceive you. And then you have the spiritual self, which is part of goes over the social and material, which means that the spiritual self is indeed the highest power that you have. It is your ego. It is what you believe, and it covers the things that you do and what makes you yourself. So basically, you have your essays in radical imperialism, 1902. This is just a thing that he concluded um, when for his son actually finished before he passed away, to pass on to all other philosophers and how they should think. When you think about something, you need to just think and do it. You encounter something, you think and you should do. You have this pure experience, and it's between yourself and the object, nobody else. And then to conclude it, you take that experience, so now you know how it is, and you take what you know and you continue to keep doing things and taking risks. That is part of the pure experiences. So now, why should we care about what Williams James' idea is, and how does it influence the school education system and what teachers should be teaching? So it's basically telling you to take risks, to know the truth. Some people are scared, some people are timid, some people have shy personalities and they don't want to do something because it looks difficult, or they're inconfident, but they need to take risks to know if they can do it or not. They're too busy worrying about it, but if they don't do it, they'll never know. And it can ease our minds and make decisions when we know what the truth is. So, a lot of younger kids these days, they have poor habits. And by actually taking risks and doing something, they'll know how to make poor habits into better ones. And I think that's really important for children and teachers to teach to children today in order for them to make good decisions, take risks, and create better habits. And that's by finding the truth within ourselves, not what anyone else tells us to believe or do or experience. And my theory is that bettering ourselves and believing that our flaws have the capacity for greatness is completely true. Everybody has flaws, but when we don't want to do something, we should do it anyway. We should just experience what it's all about, how we experience it. If we don't like it, then we can move on. If it's good, it'll work, and we can continue to progress our flaws and become better at something we thought that we would never be good at. So that's what I took away from it, and I think that's what everybody should be doing. It should be bettering themselves. A lot of people are just stuck into this um world where they're comfortable with where they're at, and they don't want to experience new things. They don't want to do different things, and they're depressed about it. do something about it, and you will do things that you never thought that you would be doing. And that's what I took away from it. So I just want to say thank you, and I hope that, this presentation really struck out to you, and, you could take away a lot of good things within this presentation, and just better yourself. So have a great night, and thank you for listening.